I couldn't be a bigger fan of IntelliBoard if I worked there.
So today we're going to spotlight real stories from across the NCCCS, how connected analytics are improving compliance, retention, and decision making.
I'll start at the beginning of this story. So we have, before this project that we're working on with the IntelliBoard team, we had been using IntelliBoard for quite a few years, and it has been a great relationship so far. One of our CCP team members wanted to know if we could use IntelliBoard to create similar reports they use in Watermark. And those two reports are the grade report and the first submission report to see who has completed their mandatory course enrollment activity. This happened at the end of August, and we're transitioning away at the end of the year. So we got to mobilize quickly, and everything we've done so far has happened very fast, and the IntelliBoard team has worked with me to get this ready as quick as possible. So the first thing, I got with our CCP team and asked, what do the reports, the ones you use, look like inside of Watermark? Graduation date, their high school program of study, pieces that don't exist inside Moodle. So got those so we could SFTP them into Moodle. So once we had that piece completed, Liz, she helped us start working on the CCP dashboard side of it, which is going to encompass the grade report and that first submission report into one place they can look at it. And we also created accounts for those CCP team members inside of IntelliBoard so they could go in and look at it. And all of that is, they can get to it from inside Moodle, which makes it a lot easier. We don't have to set it up a separate thing on our single sign-on. They can just go to Moodle to find it. It's been going great, and we're looking forward to having that done quickly, and we seem to be on track.
Our census process was, to put it nicely, a wreck. It involved, printing all the scores from Blackboard and having to email that to somebody. And, is really cumbersome and required many different steps. And so one of the first things that I came to Liz for was like, I've got to solve this problem. This is ridiculous. Because then from an educational technology perspective, we were also being inundated with emails like, hey, I'm not sure if this student entered before or after the date. Can you look for me? So then myself and my team are spending a lot of time then going to Blackboard. It was a lot of work across the board. I came to Liz and was like, we can solve this problem. I know we can make this a lot easier. Really, I think we did it a year or so ago, but and we've been using it. And then our registrar got a hold of it because now she has access to all the reports. And the registrar was like, this is perfect. I don't really want anything else. We only use IntelliBoard. So our faculty can access the dashboard. We tell them, unless it's face-to-face or hybrid, it should match IntelliBoard, period. So what that means is that then when they come in and audit us, everything pretty much matches and we don't have to go back and fix a bunch of stuff. They, of course, can get into IntelliBoard directly through Blackboard, much like Clark mentioned with Moodle, which is a huge help because while it is SSO and all that good stuff, it's much easier to just tell them to click something in Blackboard and not have to go out to something else. It's completely transformed the way that we're actually approaching this and how we're handling the census reporting. And the work is being done. It's just automatically.
We have all this data in the LMS. How can I look at it quickly? Because time is of the essence here. Especially for some faculty who are teaching all day. They have 200 something students. So when I was working with Liz about this report, initially we had set it up as just for enrollment verification. That was all we needed. We needed this clean thing. As things evolved, I had lots of faculty asking me for a weekly attendance report from Canvas. So I wanted to help with that. I knew that was a need. I still teach myself. So selfishly, I was also like,
you get it.
That would be nice if I could just plug it in real quick. And so we expanded our report. We used the learner activity completion dates and the missing learner submissions, I believe, on our instructor dashboard. We also use a conference utilization. So that allows instructors, supervisors to see who's completing things, when they're completing them? Or do we have some students who are maybe are avoiding their quizzes, their tests, and providing those early interventions that Liz has been mentioning? And it just gives, I think, this overall picture, which is nice, of how things are going. And so I can use that date filter and see who's turning things in when. Typically in online classes, you just don't have one assignment due during the week. You have several.
Yeah.
So it's much less cumbersome than to go into the LMS, see what's been submitted, when it's been submitted. I have it all on one page. So it's been really nice for that purpose. And I can say, in working with our compliance attendance office, we used to have a lot more conversations about some exceptional cases, we'll say. I really haven't heard much, kind of like Athena, like those emails have gone down a lot. So that's been a little lift too, and for both of our departments working together.
Yeah, we're enjoying the census reporting, not only the administrative aspect of it, but I teach classes too. So I know what you're talking about when you work all day and you come on and start doing the census stuff. So that's fun. So we appreciate that very much. One of the things we've also started doing is Forsyth Tech has re-entered the world of athletics. So now we have girls volleyball, men's basketball. And so we have to have a way to keep track of what's going on with our students, especially them. We've hired an athletic director last year, and Shelley is on top of her game, but she wants to see how to help make sure her students are okay. When do y'all usually find out a student's having issues? Whenever you get the drop slip from the registrar's office, okay? And we try to avoid that, especially with Shelley's trying to avoid it for athletes. What we did was got a table through IntelliBoard to do that. One thing I want to remind you is that IntelliBoard will tell the truth and nothing but the truth. During the month of October, second week, I was in Bermuda, and I just got on the ship and looked at my phone, connecting. I had a printed messages saying one of my students is failing the class, and so I got to looking, and it's where it's between semesters. I thought, well, how's it happening? And so I scrolled up, I sent one of our guys to check the account in Blackboard. And sure enough, the instructor had the B session class that's not started yet, had the dates set wrong, like for the last time they taught it. And so that student had an F on it. Right. So she's written, but we got that fixed up. That's just how much it will watch. But if we can use the IntelliBoard, we're going to get it set up. We'll get a weekly report sent to the advisors on Monday to say, hey, these students right here are having issues. So they can be more proactive in getting it. And that's going to really help out our students.
Okay, well, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Malin. Some of you know that it's a made-up word. It's 3 counties we serve: Mitchell, Avery, and Yancey. So we could have been Amy Land, we could have been Yam Land, but we're Mayland. And like a lot of rural areas, we're struggling with the demographics of declining school-age population. And that's made retention critical for us. And over 50% of our students are duly enrolled in one of the 4 high schools that we serve, which includes the early college that's on our campus. Historically, we've also served a significant part of prison population. There are 2 state prisons literally 2 miles down the road from the campus. And so the pandemic really wiped us out in a lot of ways because the prisons were understaffed and they weren't allowing instruction. And at the same time, the rest of the country found out that they could work remotely and they wanted to move into the area, and they were scooping up housing and land, making it even harder for families with children to come to this area. So we were just coming out of that slump last year, and we were hit with a 1,000-year flood that resulted from Helene, and that changed everything. It was everything became a distraction for what we were really trying to work on. And it was just last summer we were kind of looking for a more normal fall when the passage of Leon's Law came out. We knew that we had to start working on that. And although I've been working with Liz and Steph for years on IntelliBoard and doing mostly missing learner submissions so that I could help with retention that way, I was reluctant to train liaisons and advisors and faculty because we also had in the works a Title III grant that was centered around Watermark. We realized we weren't going to be able to wait for Watermark to get fully implemented here to meet our obligations for Leon's Law. And that's when we reached out to IntelliBoard And they're just so good to help, especially with the weekly online office hours. It was a good way to share new information and insights. Always picked up little nuggets and said, "Oh wow, I never saw it from that angle. I didn't see that's what we would need to be ready for." And IntelliBoard also helped our IE folks and our IT folks work together to get the necessary modules for Informer 4 so they could connect to an SFTP server. And then IntelliBoard was very generous to provide a SFTP server for us to use because we didn't have one. Well, the data's flowing now, and we're ready for our first parental request, which hasn't come yet. But Mail and Secret Sauce has always been extremely high touch wrapped around the high tech.
Yeah.
Always been very good to take care of our students and each other at Malin. And we plan to go slow until we know all of our LMS grade books are accurately reporting what the status of the student is. I think as we become more confident of that and we fix the problems that are there, then we can do more automated. We couldn't have done any of that without IntelliBoard taking real good care of us as partners, and we appreciate you for that.
I'll piggyback on that a little bit. John does an amazing job. He and his team, they do just amazing work. And running into Liz and talking about Leon's Law, we started digging in areas that we otherwise probably wouldn't have had a chance to. I mean, in all honesty, we're a small college. John wears 15 hats. And so when we're forced to dig in, sometimes we start discovering there's some pretty cool things that can happen when our hand is forced. And so as we started talking about not just the potential of Leon's Law, but a lot of other areas too, census dates and other ways to do early alerts, then all of a sudden, we start thinking about how can we take data, how can we get it to our stakeholders and to our decision makers, making data informed decisions, right? I mean, no garbage in, garbage out, but how can we get meaningful data to making decisions that make a difference in our students' lives? We've started down this track, not just about Leon's Law, even though that's been our main focus so far, but in making sure that we get data flowing to folks so that they have leading data or as close as we can have to leading data instead of lagging data. Because we all know we get a lot of times data when it's too late, as Brian had indicated as well. And so we want things that lead and help us make decisions in a proactive way. So again, I appreciate the functionality and things that have been brought to light through IntelliBoard and John and his team's effort. And I'm excited. I just can't wait to see what's next and down the road.
CCP is actually 40% of our enrollment. We serve both Catawba and Alexander County, which is about 10 high schools. We have 2 early colleges. We also do the prison, and we also have athletics. And we were already well on our way with doing CCP because once we solved the problem of census, I was like, we got to solve this other problem. So we have a scholar advisor that's assigned to every high school. What their job is kind of to be the liaison between us and that high school, which includes checking out student progress and being able to speak to that. Previously, before we started using IntelliBoard, these scholar advisors had to email the faculty and ask them to tell them how certain students were doing, which of course is not particularly effective because if the email doesn't get replied to, then that creates additional problems. To try to help resolve the problem, we created a Microsoft form. We would send that out and have the faculty fill that out and tell us how the students were doing. But again, it's not 100%. So we still wouldn't always get all the results that we wanted. In my effort to make things more efficient, we got with Liz and set up our SFTP because that was really critical. IntelliBoard, it already has the great information from Blackboard, but I needed IntelliBoard to know who's a CCP student. In order to tell IntelliBoard who's a CCP student, we have to get that from colleague. Our scholar advisors and our CCP team all have access to their own personal dashboard. It has the first date of attendance. We also, for financial aid purposes, have a last date of attendance. It's basically the last time they did something. Every single time financial aid needed an answer to that question, they would email me and I have to go look at Blackboard and see when the last time somebody did something. I haven't done that in over a year. So I'll take that. So this came alongside a little bit the Leon's Law stuff. Of course, my first stop was Liz. We're already doing this basically. I just need like 2 or 3 more things from colleague, and we're like already there. Tuck on a couple more columns and call it a day, which is essentially what we've done. But beyond that, our CCP folks all have access to this dashboard. And so now they just look at it themselves. They can look in real time and see how students are doing. And we've only had 1 or 2 parents reach out about Leon's Law. But the beautiful thing is they don't have to ask me how the students are doing because they just log into IntelliBoard and see it for themselves. We're trying to take the middle people out. I don't have to be the middle person for that because the data is already in their hands.